402 on April 10th. Roll call. Present.
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 Here.
Okay. And I would just, side note, Ms. Gay is stuck behind the wreck on 347, which is where probably some of our parents are, so. Mr. Bartle, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
It'd be my pleasure. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mr. Bartle. Okay. Item D, is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The agenda is as it stands. Okay, this is our call to the public. I'd like to remind you that members of the board may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to ARS 38431, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to any criticism, or scheduling the matter for a future agenda. The board requests that all comments be limited to 3 minutes or less, and that the public refrain from the use of speech or language that is offensive or inappropriate pursuant to board policy KFA. So I do have a few speaker cards here. Are there any more in that box back there? No? Okay. So they will go in the order. We have Josh Judd, Todd Mitchell, Margaret Jackson, and Carson Martin. So Josh. Thank you. And if you'll state your name, just for the record.
My name is Joshua Judd. I'm a resident of Maricopa. I am an educator. I don't have prepared remarks tonight, but I felt that it was important to discuss some education statistics for the parents that may not be aware. Arizona currently ranks 46th in education. Okay, that is a very difficult number to swallow. It should be, anyways. And the problem with that is that instead of increasing funding to fix that problem, we are decreasing funding. That should not be comfortable. That should not sit well with any parent in this room, because that's your child's future. It's going to be based almost 100% on his or her education. So it's important for all of you to know the statistics before you make these decisions that we're going to be voting on, or that the board is going to be voting on. You need to be aware. It's not the education picture in Arizona is not what it looks like in most other states. I can tell you that. I'm from Connecticut. It's borderline bizarre. I'll be honest with you. When there is the 29th, your state has an average per capita income of, it's the 29th ranked state in the country for average per capita income. Yet, the teachers are the 41st worst paid in the country. So that is a great disparity. You're right about even for what all of us make, right about even. But the teachers are not. So instead of fixing that, it's getting worse. And we're here to decide the closure of a middle school. Rather than fixing the problem, does that sound like it's getting better or worse to you? The closure of a middle school is worse. That is a picture of contraction, okay? Of lack of investment, of lack of passion or will to fix that problem. So whatever the vote may be tonight, whether we close the middle school or not, it's important for parents that live in Arizona to understand where they sit. It's important for you to know where you sit both in the state and nationally. It's important to know Who is educating your kids, how they're getting treated, and how they're valued by the state of Arizona? And I'd just like all of you to keep that in mind when it's time to come to vote for an override, because it will be coming at some point, and you need to make that happen. The government's not going to do it. They've shown you for the past 3 years they have no willingness to increase funding in this state. So you're going to need to do it. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mitchell?
Good evening. My name is Todd Mitchell, and I'm a parent of students within Maricopa Unified School District. I'd like to thank the school board members, Dr. Chestnut, and the community for this opportunity to speak. The prepared speech that I had here runs about 7.5 minutes, so I'm going to have to trim that down some. I went on into some of the emotional ties for closing the school for our students, and there's research on the web that shows that this is not in the best interest of any of the students. But we'll skip over that and just get right to the money of it. In regard to the financial aspects of the decision to close the middle school, the current budgetary plan has presented multiple questions to me. First, in November of last year, a memo from Dr. Chestnut was published on the school district website. The memo stated the current 2012-2013 operational budget was $29 million. In the last school board meeting, the current revenue information provided shows the revenue to be $33 million. I cannot find any information on the school websites. I cannot find anything on the district website of the $4 million disparage. I know that there are other expenditures outside of a planned budget. But where is the $1 million shortfall coming from? Second, many of the school properties are rented. For instance, Maricopa High School Performing Arts Center is rented every Sunday to the church celebration, and according to the estimated district revenue information, these monies are not included in any of their figures. In addition, I cannot find any figures stating where local or county funding is included in any of our figures. And lastly, the question of additional transportation costs has not been fully addressed. Currently, there are 17 bus routes from Maricopa Wells Middle School. There is a 6-mile difference between the two schools, and according to the Department of Transportation, the average school bus gets 7 miles per gallon. This would be an additional 2 gallons per day per bus to run all the students out to the additional school. Doing some research, and I'm going to run a little over, but I do have an additional proposal. Last school board meeting, a 2-school proposal was presented to the board that appeared to be well thought out and very financially feasible if additional monies could be found. In 2011, the school board voted to create and fund the position of a deputy superintendent. The salary at the time was listed between $75,000 and $97,000 per year plus benefits. While the workload necessary for the position may warrant the position, in the current financial situation and considering what would be in the best interest of our children, would it not be better to consider the elimination of this position instead of that of teachers? In addition, according to the Arizona Republic, the Arizona Appeals Court in January of this year sided with the schools, and the state is supposed to fund schools an additional $80 million. Has this money been accounted for in the upcoming budget? In conclusion, our jobs as parents and the jobs of educators is to ensure the best interest of all of our children come before everything else. And the closure of any school should always be a last resort. From the little research I have done and combined with the information presented during the last school board meeting, it does not appear that this has been the case. I strongly urge the school board to not only table any vote on closing the middle school, but take it out of consideration altogether. and require the school district to consider the financially and emotionally feasible alternatives that have been presented. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Margaret Jackson? Yeah.
Thank you, President and members of the board, Dr. Chestnut. I'm here to reiterate the importance of stabilization of the district. These children need stabilization and this city needs stabilization. Those of you that have been in the community for some time know how topsy and turvy things have been as far as education and children actually moving school from school. And it will not, our district numbers, our education will not continue to, scores are going up. And every time we have a major thing happen, then they go down. It's topsy-turvy. We're on an upslide. Please, please stabilize our district by leaving both schools open. I was in an override meeting a week or so ago. Dr. Chestnut said that if the board decides to keep the two schools open, we can make it work. Let's make it work. I believe we can do it. Some of the adults might have to sacrifice. Let's sacrifice for our students and do what's best for the students in our district. Thank you.
Thank you. Treva Jenkins? And then it'll be Carson and Mr. Beatty.
Good evening, members of the board and Dr. Chestnut. Thank you for taking our 2 middle school model into consideration. All of us here know that it's a very tough decision for all of you, and we just want what's best for our children. We hope that between the presentation at the last board meeting, as well as the follow-up email sent to you all by Mr. Abel, we were able to answer almost the majority of your questions or concerns that you had about the 2 models. Tonight, we just want to reiterate that the 2 middle school model is a plan that does meet the needs of the budget as well as the students. The benefits offered in the 2 middle school model include, but are not limited to, retention of a larger percentage of current 6th and 7th grade students, and then of course, options for parents. Limited transportation time and expense, and a savings of over $300,000 for the next school year. Our proposed schedule will allow more time in the state-tested areas of language arts and math, as well as a built-in intervention plan and lower class sizes. Thank you again for your diligent attention to this matter and taking the 2 middle school model into consideration. Really do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Carson?
Good evening. I'm back.
I'm glad to see you.
Thank you. So we're talking about the school being closed down, one of my favorite schools so far, and I'm almost done with the year, so I'm going to be going to high school next year. And most of the things that have been said today, I've thought of them, and I was going to say today, but they were put into said, you could say. So closing down our middle school, and well, I don't live very close to Desert Winds, and bus rides are hectic. I've been a busser for most of my life in schools, and they're not the most pleasant things to be on. Because, let's see, I've seen fights on buses. Some buses have to be stopped because of breakdowns. All of these things put in makes it, well, then you're going to have more bus rides for people further away. And you have some people moving right behind the Maricopa Wells just so that they can have their kids walk or bike to the school, just to get rid of the bus altogether. Not to mention a smaller school. Fights aren't the best thing to be in, RC. Not to mention, if you have more fights, then that can get around, spread to the internet, and that wouldn't make our district or our schools look too well, because I've seen my fair share of fights on Facebook. I'm not big on Facebook. Twitter also. But if smaller schools are closing one of the schools, we'll need to increase the classroom sizes, and same thing with male students like to be dominant. So fights, larger bus sizes. Plus, like I said last time we were doing this, well, thank you for tabling the idea, by the way. The two schools method that some of my teachers have recommended, it's brilliant. I looked it over myself, and it seems to be a solution that would be very well used for both schools, and it would help us keep both schools open, smaller classroom sizes, and it would increase our budget to the what we need it to be. So thank you.
Thank you, President. Mr. Beatty?
Now for something a little bit lighter. My name is John Beatty. I am the Public Affairs Director for the Maricopa stake of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And I have a little announcement I want to make here. It says, "Are you ready?" Saturday, April 20th, 2013, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. is a family preparedness fair. It's being held at 37280 West Bolin Road in Maricopa, Arizona, and hosted by the Maricopa stake of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Our Heavenly Father created this beautiful earth with all its abundance for our benefit and use. His purpose is to provide for our needs as we walk in faith and obedience. He has lovingly commanded us to prepare every needful thing so that should adversity come, we may care for ourselves and our neighbors and support bishops as they care for others. There will be many seminars, 20 minutes long every half hour, starting at 10:30 a.m. These will be emergency management tips, financial preparedness, important documents to have on hand, and spiritual preparedness. There will be various booths, home canning and dry packing, bread making and food safety, alternative shelters, light sources and heating, communications and alternative power sources, alternative cooking sources and water storage, employment, first aid, growing your own food and sprouting, preparedness, where do I start, spiritual preparedness, and the Maricopa Fire Department will be on hand to teach safety in the home, and the Maricopa Police Department will be on hand to do child fingerprinting. Again, that's April 20th, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., and there are flyers out in the foyer, and I've got some here too. Thank you.
Thank you. Jackson Quinones? Hopefully I said that right.
Close enough.
How was it? Quinones?
Quiñones.
Quinones. Okay.
Good afternoon. Thank you for giving me the chance to be here. My name is Jackson Quiñones. I'm here as a parent. I'm going to try to be very brief with this. I have some concerns. Last week I wasn't sure or I was uncertain if we were closing the school because of money issues or because of the classification that they're in. If it's for money issues, I believe the teachers came up with a great program or a great solution for the money issue problem. If it's for classification and we're trying to make teachers responsible for the grade of the school, I don't believe that it's the teachers, the ones that are causing the school to be with that grade. I don't believe it's the school either, okay? I think it's part of us as parents, with all due respect, okay? And it's because if there's a test, most parents don't know their kids have a test. Most parents, I remember when I went to school, we had lots of homework, lots of tests. You ask the kids nowadays, and they never have homework. But when you check, they do. So basically, it's parents' fault of why the school is getting the grade that it's getting. It's not the teachers. I am very well involved with Maricopa Wells, and I know that the teachers have a lot of interest in getting those kids to where they're supposed to be at. Another thing that I didn't see on the last proposal that was presented up there was security. I didn't see any proposal with security expenses. You're putting 700 kids in one school under a low number amount of teachers. I'm from Puerto Rico. I was in the anti-riot unit back there. I was a cop over there. Riots are ugly, whether it's 20 people or 60 people, okay? And a 700 student school that breaks a fight, trust me, some teachers will get involved, but it's not gonna be as effective as when you have a lower number. Not only that, what happened at Sandy Hook, okay? Response time for the police officers were 13 minutes to get there, okay? Maybe they'd have gotten there sooner, we wouldn't have so much catastrophic results. We're putting those kids 15 minutes from a good response time that they have in that school right here, which is probably 2 minutes on a response time from law enforcement, okay? I just want to say if it will be better for the education of the kids to have 2 schools with smaller groups than one school with a 50 to 1 ratio per teacher. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Chairman Manuel Lewis.
Good evening, President, Madam President, Vice President, distinguished members of the board. I wasn't going to speak tonight. I got pushed up here. But, and I'm not here to sway or influence or anything, but to voice 900 plus members of my community, the issues of the school system in the sense of how we need to incorporate on ourselves, advocate and take accountability for our member students, but also in the same realm of, I guess, creating a little more education too on the Occidental community. In the beginning, we were twice the size as what we are now, 44,000 plus acres. Based on some opinions and whatnot, they felt that we had too much acreage, so they cut us in half. We purchased more land and put it land into trust, and then we were told that we're taking away taxes and whatnot. But we gave back to the school districts through our 12% and whatnot, millions of dollars, 3.2 million to be exact. And then we come back to this same stage where I guess the increase or the ability to improve some situations still hasn't been addressed. And we still are, as a community next to the city of Maricopa, as well as I think a value to this whole area here is that as a community, we still feel that there should be a strong partnership. We did test Dr. Chestnut in the beginning to see what was coming about and pick his brain. We have a new education director, Mrs. Saunders, who has been diligent and vigilant in trying to determine some of these factors that are increasing the numbers of issues that we're having in our community, as well as based on education. And as I said before, we are looking to the realm of constructing a school site in our community. But that does not mean that this community and the Occidental community cannot work together to partner into a stronger education development system, in the sense of what we need to address as what's been voiced today and what has been voiced at the last meeting. And we are prepared to do that. We also want to work with Dr. Chestnut in a more detailed realm of information sharing and more transparency on our community members, students. And however you have determined or predetermined your decision tonight on the school closure or whatnot, we still are going to be a part of what goes forward into this community. We still want to be considered a value into determining those factors, and we will voice our concerns as we are tonight. Based on those rooms, I think you have an opportunity to really look at what is before you based on what has been presented and what is next door. And we want to open that door and want to make sure that we have a say-so in the process and how we grow as a school, as a community, as a city, and hopefully, and that has been stated before too, is that the school district, the Occidental community, and the city of Maricopa does need to become a true partner in determining the future of this community. So I appreciate your attention and time to what I had to say, and thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Knightley. Okay, that brings us to the end of our public. Are there any more? I don't see any more speaker cards. Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate, we all appreciate you being here and with your comments. We'll go further into our agenda, and that brings us to our superintendent's report.
Thank you, President Anderson. It is baseball season, so I thought I'd start with a slide of Maricopa High School Rams baseball team, and they're doing very well. But I have several things to report on tonight. And the first is congratulations to our Teacher of the Month, Ronnie Buchanan from Saddleback Elementary, and Staff Member of the Month, Soshi Fonseca. And before they come up here, I just want to tell you just a little bit about them. They both work at Saddleback Elementary. Mr. Buchanan is a PE teacher. Soshi Fonseca is the lead custodian. And they are both characterized or described as being very hard-working people that do a great job in their responsibilities. Mr. Buchanan with his PE classes, and Soshi with keeping the grounds looking great at all times. So we have a certificate for him, and we'd like him to come up and receive it. And we'll get the certificate to Soshi. She's probably working or something. I don't know. We have some overdue recognition, and we have not had the opportunity to recognize the AIA Football Coach of the Year, Corey Nienaber from Maricopa High School. And because of timing and schedules, we weren't able to get Corey down here for a governing board meeting. He's a busy person, as you can imagine. This was announced, I believe, in January. And Corey was named the Division III Section 1 Coach of the Year by the Arizona Interscholastic Association. And as you all probably know, the Rams finished with a record of 7-4 and made it to the first round of the playoffs. This is the first playoff appearance for the football team since 2007, and it was the best record for our football team in the past 15 years. And I've greatly enjoyed working with Corey. Not only is he an excellent football coach, he also serves as our athletic director, and he's also a great educator in our district. And if you know Corey, you also know he's a humble person. And if you saw the quotes in the newspaper, he was very quick to give credit to his hardworking players, his hardworking assistant coaches, and thanking everybody that made this award possible. But we also know the reason that Corey received this award is because he's an excellent football coach. He's a pleasure to work with, so Corey, please come on up and get your certificate. Very proud of Coach Nienaber. Next up, I just want to remind everyone that you should have received your MUSD quarterly newsletter. It was 4 pages inside the recent In Maricopa newspaper that was delivered to about 20,000 households in the area, trying to get the good news out about the good work that's being done in Maricopa Unified School District on a quarterly basis. And we do 2 of these newsletters within Maricopa and 2 with the Maricopa Monitor. So this is newsletter number 3 for this school year. There are complimentary copies on the counter out there in the lobby, so please take one of those with you. And governing board members, you should find one of those at your place. So it's always good to get that edition out there and get the latest good news out that's going on in the school district. As you may know, we had our annual art walk on the 4th this week, and I think this was actually a picture from last year, but it was a great event, and it was my first one. I really enjoyed walking around and just seeing the artwork. We had the high school chamber orchestra here performing outside on the patio. It was a great night, a great turnout by a large number of parents, and a lot of great artwork, and some of it's actually still on display around the building. So very cool way for our students to demonstrate excellence in the arts. Kindergarten. As you know, we are changing the format for kindergarten next year. And we will have free half-day programs. And then for parents that are interested, there is the option of an all-day tuition-based program. We had our first parent meeting last night in this room. We are still finalizing information. We do not have every detail figured out, but we are trying to post this information just as quickly as we can. We will be posting the next round of information on the website on Monday the 15th. And then we will have our next parent meeting with more detailed information. We'll be right here in this room on April 25th at 6 p.m. So we know there's a lot of interest in that. We are still working out the details. There's a lot of moving parts to that, as you can imagine, with transportation and all-day tuition base and all that. So we're trying to get the information out just as quickly as we can. So watch the school district website, come to that meeting, and we'll keep providing information. Also want to remind people that the April Parent Superintendent Coffee Meeting will be April 17th, and topic will continue to be the MUSD budget. We'll meet here at 10 a.m. in the governing board room, and then we'll have an identical session at 7 p.m. that night at the Butterfield Elementary Library. Also wanted to announce that we are in the process of reorganizing the Maricopa Online, or sometimes we refer to it as MOL, program at Maricopa High School for 2013-14. It will take a different form next year. Current MOL students will be placed in a normal Maricopa High School schedule next year. Students who are in the MOL program are there because they are credit deficient, they're behind, they're trying to get caught up. They will still have that opportunity. They will be able to gain extra credits through online credit recovery program. A second bullet says that MHS students who struggle in math will have access to a second intervention classroom. We know that some of our students that are in the MOL program do struggle, particularly in reading, or in English and math. MHS this year has been working to provide a second intervention, particularly in math, and so that will be an option that those students will have as well. The third bullet says that MHA students who are credit deficient will continue to have access to the Central Arizona College General Education Diploma Program. Our goal, of course, is for all of our students to earn that high school diploma, but in some cases, for some students, their best option, if they are credit deficient, is to consider a GED. That's been an option that's been available through CAC for a long time, and will continue to be, and we'll continue to communicate with students about that. And finally, MHS credit deficient students should have access to the No Dropouts program. That is a 100% online program with the ability to earn a Maricopa High School diploma. We are very close to getting the board to finalize that. We are still working out the financial arrangements with the Arizona Department of Education. That is a fully funded program by the Arizona Department of Education. It's an option that we want to make available to our students. Once we get that finalized, we will make that available, and that's going to be a new option for our students that we are looking forward to having for them. So we think that there are going to be options in place next year, but it will take a different direction from what we've been doing the past 2 years. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you, Dr. Chestnut. Governing board member reports? Anything?
I have just something I'd like to share. It's not really so much, can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah, just
Yeah.
move the mic right up to your
I'm just
mouth.
going to,
Yeah, there you go.
right here. I just would like to share with the public, this is not so much an education-related situation, but in a way it is. As all of you may know, I'm a member of the Auctioneering community and have been born and raised in that community. Grew up in Maricopa when Maricopa was a really small town. I've seen the growth and the development and the ramifications from that growth and development, and I've seen the city of Maricopa grow into a fine city. I embrace the growth and development. I know this is why we're right here today, trying to cut budgets to try to catch up with all of those ramifications. But on the flip side of things, because I was so isolated, I'm going to say isolated, but I grew up in the auctioneering community, and I also was very focused in that community and only in that community until I got on the school board, which has opened up a whole entire different aspect in the way I look at things. And then, for whatever reason, I have no life, I got a job on the weekends at a local salon. I have a hair background. And what that has done for me, though, which has been really interesting, is that it has helped me become more involved with the city of Maricopa people. And I've had the opportunity to cut a few of the teachers' hair. I've gotten to meet some people. Oh my gosh, teachers, I hope you liked your hair, the ones I did cut. I'm so sorry if I messed you up. But I do it on the weekends, and I've been out of the industry for quite some time. But I just wanted to share that with the public, that this integration of me moving more into the city of Maricopa, and I get to know the families and the people, and I've cut kids' hair, and I'm asking them about the school systems, and I'm asking the parents how do they like their school. A lot of them are going to charter schools. But I just want to share with the public that that's been an eye-opener for me, and the city of Maricopa has grown into a fine city. I've seen it grow from where it was a long, long time ago to what it is today, and I want to thank every single one of you in this room who have come here to speak on behalf of your schools, or just the involvement that's been in this room has been amazing. And you're just a small percentage of what's out there. There's a lot of people out there that probably wish they could be here and cannot be. So this is not just the stuff that we do today and the decisions that we make today is not just a board decision. It's been a community decision. It's been community involvement. And I just want to thank all of you for that, and I just want to share that with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Burnett. Mrs. Coutray, anything?
No.
I did attend on Saturday. There was a town hall with all of our state representatives and Senator Melvin, sheriff and the county attorney, and I did attend that town hall. It was here in the boardroom. Quite interesting. Education was one of the main topics. So, and they do want you to email them, so I encourage you to email your state representatives. They are here to represent you, and that's all I'm going to say on that. Mr. Bartle? Okay. All right, with that, we'll move on to our information work study. Dr. Chestnut.
As you know, Dr. Connolly has been bringing a teaching and learning report at each meeting, and I think she's ready to go. Is that correct? Oops, did I read the agenda wrong here? We are ready for Saddleback to give their report on their math improvement plan. And as you know, we've been doing that every meeting also, being hearing from every school, so I'll turn it over to Principal Felicia Williams.
Carlisle Burnett, and Scott Bartle. Thank you, and Dr. Chestnut. We appreciate the opportunity to be here. I am Felicia Williams, and I am the proud principal of Saddleback Elementary, where I have wonderful staff members here with me and then also in our audience. So if you are from Saddleback in the audience, if you would please stand. Okay, I don't see the clicker here, so I'm taking it that Jack, okay. Okay, there we are. So Saddleback is... So that was an attempt for some of our students to formally greet you and say welcome to Saddleback. So those are second grade and kindergarten students from Saddleback Elementary. So why we do what we do. What I did and what some of our staff members did is we just polled teachers throughout the building. And these are different quotes from the teachers why we do what we do. So Margaret Perea, she says, "I love stimulating the minds of children and helping them learn a challenging task that constantly requires new ideas and a fresh outlook." Mrs. Lozano, she said, "I enjoy instilling a love of learning in students." Mrs. Stout, "I really love being the eye that makes the difference in a child's life." Mrs. Smart, "I like providing opportunities for students to feel successful." And last but not least, Mrs. Marcy Holworth said, "In what other job can you make such a lasting impression on a child's life?" So, to review some of our student demographics, at Saddleback we have a total of 516 students, 248 of those students being male and 268 of those being female. We have a significantly high special education population, 20% of our students. That equates for over 100 of our students are identified as special education students. We also have ELL students. They account for 12%, which is about 62 students. Our gifted population is not very high. We have less than 1% of our students being identified as gifted. The ethnic breakdown within Saddleback, we have 33% Hispanic, 32% Caucasian, Native American is 18%, African American 11%, and Asian and Pacific Islanders being 3%. I'd like to now turn over the floor to Mrs. Jane Tift, our academic coach.
Which one? Oh, to me, right, thank you. Okay. Hi, I'm happy to be here this evening to tell you a little bit about Saddleback and about the teachers. I'm going to tell you a little bit about our staff demographics. I've been privileged this year to work as an academic coach and represent and work with the teachers, and I've really enjoyed every moment of it. We have a really outstanding staff. We have a staff of 41 and a support staff that even I think is maybe in addition to that. Mrs. Williams is our administrator. I'm the academic coach, and we have 20 wonderful classroom teachers who work very, very hard each and every day to provide for the students that attend Saddleback. In addition to our 20 classroom teachers, we have many support teachers. We have support staff in the way of classroom aides that help to support our special education teachers. You saw the wonderful, fantastic PE teacher that we have on our staff, and he's really something. He's really good. You should all come and watch him teach a class because it's really fun to watch him. Mrs. Johnston is our music teacher, and we share her with Pima Butte, and we're so happy when she's at Saddleback with us and our children. And we have a librarian, library aide that works with our students and is there part-time as well. We have over 50% of our staff who holds master's degrees, and you can see when you're on staff, you can see the expertise and you hear the conversations that go on amongst the teachers, the expertise that actually is in the building. The average years of experience at Saddleback among the teachers is 8 years. We have some that have almost 20. We have some that have our first-year teachers. So we have a breadth of experience. We're a relatively new school, just being in existence for 5 years, so we're still building our school community amongst our staff and amongst our parents and students. And we're really coming together as a staff, and there's lots of laughter, there's lots of hard work, sometimes there are a few tears, but we try to make those few and far between. We have worked really hard this year to implement and make sure that our teachers have a weekly grade level collaboration time, a time in which they can all sit down together and talk about the needs at their grade level, talk about the needs of their children and how best to meet those needs. Mrs. Williams and I try to meet with each grade level at least every other week to maybe sometimes every 3 weeks. We look at data very closely. We look at where our children are, what their needs are, what we can do to elevate and meet their needs. We look at very specific children. We look at very specific needs that they have academically, and then we plan and set goals on what we can do to work towards meeting the needs of those students. We have a dedicated 30-minute RTI block in which we work with those students. So now I'm going to turn it over to, I'm not sure who's next, so I'm just going to pass this off. But thank you.
Good evening. My name is Margaret Perea. I'm a kindergarten teacher at Saddleback Elementary. I've been at Saddleback for 3 years, but I have 16 years of teaching experience. At Saddleback, we love to start off our day on a positive note. Oh, sorry. Okay. We love to start our day on a positive note, and to do this, we have 4th and 5th graders participate in a Saddleback News Network where they explain the events of the day, and we recognize kids who show great character. These students are then called up to the Saddleback newsroom, and where they get to present our Saddleback Pledge live on the air. And our Saddleback Pledge is: a super stallion promotes fairness, respects all, is trustworthy, demonstrates responsibility, exhibits great citizenship. We are carrying stallions. We have stallion pride. Yee-haw! Which is their favorite part as well. So together with the Saddleback News Network and recognizing our kids' positive behavior, we're able to start our day off on a great note. In every classroom at Saddleback Elementary, we have focus walls for reading and for math. These focus walls are tools for instruction and help to guide our tools for teaching and help to guide instruction. These walls are interactive and they reflect daily learning, and they change with each unit or theme throughout the year. The next part that I want to share with you about is whole brain teaching, which I absolutely love. I, along with another staff member, use whole brain teaching in our classroom, and Mrs. Williams asked us to present this to our staff to help promote and improve learning in the area of math. So we've asked our staff to start incorporating bits of whole brain teaching. Whole brain teaching is about student engagement, which maximizes student learning. It's fun, it builds independence, and it improves student achievement. So we're going to be sharing a video clip here of 2 classrooms. One is my kindergarten classroom, and it's during our math instruction. We're having a number talk and talking about problem solving. The second part is a 2nd grade classroom, which we'll be watching now. While that's loading, one of my favorite parts is this participation you get from the students. And it works all the way from kinder all the way up to 12th grade. So it can be used for all grade levels. Today we're going to talk about a number talk. Mirrors? Okay? A number talk is how we build a number. Okay? Mirrors and words.
A number talk is how we build a number.
I want you to face your partner.
Face, face, face.
Okay, and I want you to teach your partner what a number talk is.
Mia and Lexi.
Mia and Lexi. Okay, ready? Teach.
Okay. A number talk is how we build a number. A number talk is how we build a number.
Yes?
Yes.
Crisscross it.
Applesauce.
Okay. All right. I was afraid that was going to happen. It happened in our leadership meeting as well, but we'll move forward. It's an extraordinary video of our kids actually engaged in whole brain learning and teaching. The kids are fully engaged, they teach. It's amazing to see kindergarten teachers actually, or kindergarten students actually teach a lesson to their peers. So we had 2 videos. We had one of a kindergarten class and another of a 2nd grade class where the students were actually doing the teaching.
We're going to be talking solving? Give me an ooh. How many steps do we have to problem solving? Alexia, sorry. 4. 4. There are 4 steps to problem solving. Tell your partner, there are 4 steps to problem solving. So, Mears. There are 4 steps to problem solving. Step number 1, read the problem. Step number 2, draw a picture. Step number 3, write a number sentence. Step number 4, write a word sentence. Right, now we're going to do mirrors and words. Ready? There are
4 steps to problem solving. Step number 1, read a problem. Step number 2, draw a picture. Step number 3, write a number sentence. Step number 4, write a word sentence.
This is the last part, I promise. I know middle school, this is hard.
Mirror. Mirror. Mirror with words. Mirror with words. Number 1. Number 1. Little Bo Peep lost in her sheets. Little Bo Peep lost in her sheets. L in little needs to be capitalized because it's the beginning of the sentence. L in little has to be capitalized because it's the beginning of the sentence. Losted needs to be lost because the past tense of lose is lost, not losted. Number 3. Which word does not belong? Which word does not belong? Soap. Soap. Toothbrush. Toothbrush. Spoon. Spoon. Comb. Comb. Think. Think. Well, 3 times tell the answer. Spoon. Good job. Yes. Mirror. Mirror. Mirror with words. Mirror with words. There are 2 important hands on the clock. There are 2 important hands on the clock. The short one. The short one is the hour hand. Is the hour hand. The long one. The long one is the minute hand. Is the minute hand. You can remember it by. You can remember it by the word hour. The word hour is short. Is short. And the minute word is longer. And the minute word is longer.
So this will be our transition. I will give you a word. You tell me the antonym as you walk back to your seat to check your DOL. Clear?
Crystal clear.
Hot.
Cold.
White. Black. I will give you a word. You count the syllables, okay? Summarize.
Summarize.
Predict.
Predict.
Okay, thank you for your patience. So, as you can see, our teachers always find ways and opportunities for learning. We have found that using academic vocabulary in everyday teaching is very important to helping students succeed. The students in the video, again, were kindergartners and second graders. So if they are able to teach a class of 30 at the age of 6 and 7, you can only imagine their potential when they grow up to be citizens and professional adults like you and I. So thank you for your patience. We're not quite done, but we're almost there. All right, I'm going to let Heather Lozano, she's going to come up and talk with you all about, or actually it's Jen Shirley, about classroom instruction, and I'll try to help Jack with the slide.
Good evening. It's great to be here. My name is Jennifer Turley. I am currently in my 5th year of teaching, and this is my 3rd year with the Maricopa Unified School District at Saddleback. I am currently a kindergarten teacher this year, but I have also taught 3rd grade. Hoping to get some slides here in a moment. What I wanted to discuss with you is there's some pictures of my kindergarten classroom showing how I post my student-friendly objectives. And I think they're coming up right now. They're kind of difficult to see, but basically, if you're able to look on your screens a little more closely, you have a better shot of them. I write daily objectives for my students, primarily being in kindergarten for math and reading. I use these objectives. They make me focused and centered as a teacher. It reminds me of what I'm doing each day with the students, and it simply just drives my instruction. I like posting them because anyone can walk into my classroom, whether it be my administrator, another classroom teacher, a volunteer, or any parent of one of my students. They can come into my room, look on my board, and they know exactly what I'm doing each and every day with my kids. I also create what I call essential questions. Basically, these questions are formed based on how I write my objectives. The essential questions are used simply as a closure technique when following the essential elements of instruction. I can ask an open-ended question, get the kids thinking. I can have them answer individually rather than just having them answer yes or no. It's giving them an opportunity to think about what they've learned and how to explain their thinking and reasoning. Also, I wanted to talk just a little bit about the depths of knowledge. We all know that depths of knowledge is now related to our new Common Core standards. We're teaching in a different way now, and we're not teaching our kids what to think, but it's more about teaching them how to think. It's teaching kids how to think critically. I struggled a little bit this year on how to think about how to get my own students to reach a level of 3 or 4 questioning at the kindergarten level. I worked with it primarily with my read-alouds that I do every day. Basically, we would sit, we would read a story, and I taught my students to think about, well, if you could imagine that the author of this great book is sitting in our classroom and you could ask him or her anything that you would want to ask about the story, what would it be? And that was a way for me to kind of introduce this higher depth of knowledge to get my little guys thinking about what it is that they had read. And they were able to come up with their own questions. They're learning how to formulate their own questions. So I do this every day with my kids, and that's pretty much all that I wanted to share with you. So thank you for your time.
Good evening. I am Heather Lozano. I teach 4th grade at Saddleback Elementary. This is my first year in the Maricopa Unified School District, but my 16th year as a classroom teacher. We're talking today, my job is to talk to you today about routine goal setting. Jane Tift, our academic coach, talked about RTI. We set goals as grade levels in math and reading approximately every 2 weeks. They guide our RTI instruction, and we group our kids accordingly. They guide small group instruction in our math and reading blocks in our classroom as well. We all know that parent communication, I believe we had a parent speak earlier, and parent involvement is imperative to student success. So at Saddleback, we send home a monthly Giddy Up Gazette, and it highlights what's going on in the classrooms each month, or each grade level, I should say. But teachers also communicate with their parents through weekly emails or weekly newsletters. Some of us have classroom websites, phone calls, emails to parents. And in our population, it is sometimes difficult to get our parents to attend our evening events. So for parent-teacher conferences this spring, we set a goal, and we not only sent home the typical invitation and confirmation, we reached out personally to our population, to our parents, because their student success is important to us, and we had a tremendous turnout. The number of parents in my classroom almost doubled from the fall, so it was exciting to see. The last one really excites me. My quote was up there about instilling the love of learning. I have been in school for 20 years, I think now. Reinberg, a researcher in Germany, she states that she stated teachers that believe that they can mold and enhance students' intellectual skills have growth mindsets. These teachers truly believe that every student can learn. This is the important part. They're committed to make it happen. So for a quick example, in my classroom we're teaching ordered pairs, which is easily confused. You know, we teach a lot of times over up. That's the way we were taught in school. That's not enough for our kids. That's not reaching every student. So we went out and played basketball. I taught them we have to dribble before we can shoot. We go over before we go up. To review, we played Battleship, a modified version of Battleship in the classroom. That's what the pictures show on the slide. The kids playing Battleship, and I hear them, nope, and I did letters and numbers so I could hear the difference. Nope, the number has to go before the letter. So they're correcting each other, and that's about reaching every student. It's thinking outside the box for our students. Thank you.
Okay, so on the screen you'll see our Galileo benchmark scores for the first benchmark and the second benchmark. So I want to remind you that these scores are from October and December, and all of the standards had not yet been taught. However, all of our grade levels between first and fifth did improve, with the exception of second grade. So let's look at third grade, for example. 70% was the average of material grasp during the month of December. So we are eager to see what our scores will look like next week when we take our Ames assessment. Teachers have been studying and working with students so that our scores do indeed go up. So preparing for Ames, we are currently in our Ames Spirit Week, so test scores are very important, but if you don't have student buy-in, it's pointless. So we want our kids to understand this is not something that we do because we don't like you, that we want you to work. We want them to understand that this is for them. This is to prepare them for their future. So this week, we are in Ames Prep Spirit Week. Monday was Red Day. We are ready for Ames. Yesterday was Back in Time Day. Go back and check your work. Today was Team Day. Tomorrow will be Green Day. We are mean green testing machines. And then Friday, we're going to end the week in our pajamas because we have to get a good night's rest before the test. So the last thing I'll talk about are some of the challenges at Saddleback. 70% of our students, unfortunately, qualify for free and reduced lunch. That is a significant number of students at Saddleback. We have the highest percentage of free and reduced throughout the district. Some of these kids don't know if they're going to have dinner when they go home. They don't eat breakfast, but we do have free breakfast for every student, and we are working with the local church. Power Pack Copa will be a program where our students will be given backpacks if they don't have food over the weekend, and the food in the backpack will help them eat and come to school Monday ready to learn. Our second challenge is low parent involvement. As we said, parent involvement is vital. So this month at our site council meeting, we sat down with Mr. Jim Irving and we brainstormed some ways to get our parents involved. We need our parents to help our students succeed. And the last challenge would be the poor perception within the community. So as it often is, the bad stuff or the false stuff, that's what spreads the fastest, and that's what's heard the most. So often the good things that happen at Saddleback aren't talked about, but we are a great school. We have great teachers, great students. We are excited about growing. That being said, my vision for Saddleback is for it to be an A+ school. We're going to get t-shirts made, everything in lowercase letters except those A's because we are A people. And we are going to defy the odds, and we are going to go from good to great. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you, board members. Do you have any questions? Thank you.
Chestnut.
Okay, now I believe we are ready for Dr. Conley's report on teaching and learning.
Good evening, President Anderson, Vice President Coutre, members of the board, Dr. Chestnut, members of the community. As Dr. Chestnut shared with you, our goal is to continually communicate our district improvement plan, and Saddleback has already visibly shown you what each and every school is doing in fulfilling our district improvement plan. It is around the framework of promising practices, which is around the best practices of research-based instruction, and it establishes a common language of instruction throughout our district. It is built upon the foundation of Charlotte Danielson's 4 domains: planning and preparation, classroom environment, effective instruction, and professional responsibility. Side note, the PowerPoint that you have attached to the agenda is different than the PowerPoint that you're seeing, slightly. Nothing new that is on here. Every staff member knows and understands the common language of effective instruction, and it's built around those 4 domains again. Domain 1, and I am going to show another way of visible evidence of these domains in action. So domain is planning and preparation, and for the last 2 years we've focused on the understanding by design, looking at the 12th grade, working backwards from what we know they have to have as graduating seniors to be college and career ready, and then working backwards to that first day of kindergarten. It is a theory of curriculum planning using our Common Core state standards, and it does use the POWER standards, which are 10 anchor standards that are across grade levels that just build upon one another. Domain 2, the classroom environment. As research shows, that classroom environment is critical in student learning. Safety, our #1 priority for our students. Relationships, which the method that we have continually used this year are Socratic seminars. It opens up a dialogue of instruction and critical thinking. We believe in excellent customer service, and that is to our students, and then building that team between the parents and the teachers and the other staff members for those students. Procedures and routines that look similar among schools, both elementary and secondary, and a strong character education program. Instruction. In Domain 3, classroom instruction that works, I am proud to say that all of our teachers they have completed the first part of the classroom instruction Marzano model, and we are on to the art and science of teaching for this next year. Cooperative learning strategies, which our key term is Kagan, and just what we saw with the whole brain learning. Math solutions, which are concept-based, not processes of you do this over and up, but rather why are we doing this? And again, the Socratic seminars of critical thinking. And finally, the professional responsibilities of how we continually grow as a professional. And this is actually what we asked our teachers and our principals to complete this year, is not only doing the class of classroom instruction that works, but completing a teacher portfolio, which I have a model teacher portfolio, and this really does go above and beyond what is clearly expected. But this provides evidence of Angelia Ebner, who is one of our national certified board teachers, who has done an outstanding job of showing what a teacher does each and every day in their classroom, fulfilling not only our district improvement plan, but each and every school improvement plan to meet our achievement goals. Questions?
I have none.
So do I. You want to go first?
No, you guys, I have none.
Oh, you don't?
Go
Okay.
ahead.
Dr. Conley, I know when the teachers get together, but for our audience and for those that might be watching, how do our teachers learn about, I mean, this is a whole different way for them to teach, many of them. Mm-hmm. So how are they getting all this information? How is this getting disseminated down to them so that they can apply it into the classroom?
There's a variety of methods. Not only do we use the grade level collaboration at the elementaries or the professional learning community model, where grade levels and teams of teachers meet together, review the data. Every Wednesday at the elementaries and the middle schools, and then once a month at the high school, there's professional developments for the teachers. And at the elementary in particular, because we have that consistent schedule, we have a schedule of events for every Wednesday of what that Wednesday looks like, whether it's in the building with the coaches and the RTI specialists supporting that, whether it's teachers sharing their knowledge, again, much like Saddleback, and our teachers using the whole brain learning. Our online method of classroom instruction that works. Our professional development coach designed a hybrid online class where it had the availability of being partly online and being able to respond in an online teaching collaborative group.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Anybody else? No? Okay. Thank you, Dr. Connolly.
Thank you.
Brings us to 5C, review monthly financial report for February 2013. That'd be Mr. Roush. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Roush? No. Looks good. Still want more money, though. All right, consent agenda. Any motion?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda is approved. Action items. 7A. Mr. Beckett, that's our HR.
Thank you, President Anderson, Vice President Couture, members of the board, Dr. Chestnut. You have the personnel schedule in front of you tonight to entertain any of your questions.
I don't have any. Anybody have any questions on the HR?
No.
No. Okay. Seeing there are no questions, are there any motions?
Motion to approve the personnel schedule.
Okay.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. HR schedule is approved.
Thank you.
7B, discuss and possible approval of closure of Maricopa Wells Middle School beginning with the 2013-2014 school year. Discussion?
Where do we begin?
Okay, who wants to go first?
All right, I'll start it. Since the last board meeting, I think all of us have had the opportunity to get some more information and get some questions answered. With every decision I think that all of us make, we always put our students in our district first because we do want them to succeed. When the question came up for me to close a middle school and combine the two, it was for budgetary reasons. And now looking at this option, this viable option of keeping two middle schools open, and we're still falling short, but I think that we'll be able to make up that difference with some of the restructuring with the Maricopa Online possibly. The only question I have for Dr. Chestnut to clarify, if we keep both schools open, the class sizes, student to teacher, would be the same as if we combine the two schools, correct?
It's possible we may need a couple extra teachers to operate two middle schools. That's why there was a range of savings on having two schools. It could be as low as $300,000. It might be as much as $400,000. We may need those extra two teachers, which would reduce the savings to about $300,000 to make the program work. We have a couple of different draft schedules, and we just have to make final decisions on those. So we're in the ballpark, and it just depends on exactly what teachers are needed to meet the needs for our students.
Okay. I do have, two students in the middle school. They are in extremely high-sized classes, and they're functioning well, and they're doing great. I don't know if a huge one school, one giant school, would be the best environment for my kids. So, but I have to take the emotion out for the decision that I need to make. But I think in addition to what we teach the kids, and our teachers do an awesome job doing it, there's much more to the educational experience that our students get, and part of that is the environment and the culture of the schools, and I think our students would do better keeping the two-school model at this point. It's not, if this was going to be a permanent fix, then that'd be something to look at, but we know that this is just going to be a temporary fix, that we would have to reopen another middle school 2 to 3 years down the line, and I don't believe that this that that would be the best option. So for me, I want to keep both middle schools open.
Okay. Go ahead. Mrs. Gay, can you move your microphone to your...
I have to concur with Patty on that. I listed pros and cons, and I can't find many reasons to close Maricopa Wells. My pro list for Maricopa Wells staying open was the life skill program, the 20+1 program, the transitioning of the kids. I think that could be a disruption. The partnership that we have with Opchan, I can't see taking money and running. I just can't see that. And then the safety issues. So at this point, I could say keep Maricopa Wells open.
Mrs. Burnett?
My turn?
Sure.
Well, I echo both of your comments, Ms. Coutray and Ms. Gay. Also, we've been through several meetings. Last meeting we had, we listened to so many people from the public. We've had the people basically speaking. I've also listened to, I'm not an educator, but I've listened to many educators stand before us with their levels of expertise and their educational backgrounds, statistical information. Thank you all for the hard work that you've all done trying to get this to come to a decision and help us resolve this. That's what has certainly made me decide that I would like to keep both schools open as well. There's got to be a way around it. The creativity involved with just the presentations that came before us the last meeting and some of the information that's been said to us tonight, that's just, this is like I said, this is a community together. We're trying to figure this out together. And I thank everybody for that. Dr. Chestnut, I thank you very much for your administration and all the hard work that you've put before us to try to, help cut this budget as much as you possibly could. Trying to, in a sense, give us the biggest bang for our buck. But, we've got kids and families and people and, everything else. So, 2 schools.
Mr. Bartle?
Thank you, President Anderson. Pardon me. It doesn't sound like there'll be a whole lot of debate here tonight, but I think it's important that we keep in mind that this decision impacts the whole entire district and not just what happens at the middle school level. And it's incumbent upon us to do what's best for all 6,000 students. It's imperative that we as the board see the forest through the trees, if you will. We cannot focus on one student, one teacher, one program, one school, one mascot. I really think we need to make decisions that benefit, to the best that we can, all 9 schools and all 6,000 kids, as I said, even if it means hurting some feelings along the way. We're optimistic that this year will yield better results for our middle schools, and we'll receive those letter grades in August. To date, however, the data we have shows both our middle schools' grades have gone from a B to a C to a D in the last 3 years. Based on that, I think it's clear that what we're doing is not working. And I asked how we can continue down the same path, even providing potentially $250,000 of less resources to the middle schools and expect better results. That defies logic to me. Our superintendent, deputy superintendent, curriculum director, high school principal, our chief financial officer, they all believe closing Maricopa Wells Middle School is the best alternative for improving student achievement. And certainly the economics that has been mentioned as well, the precipitate of this conversation. So I believe not supporting our superintendent's decision is at best a recipe for the status quo and quite possibly could be perceived as an endorsement of mediocrity. And I think we need to do something different. And I, for one, support the superintendent's recommendation.
Okay. So that leaves me.
That leaves you.
Okay. I've given this quite a bit of thought and talked to many, many people, and I'm grateful we've had the opportunity to have this discussion. I'm encouraged by the amount of community support that's come out. I hope that this support continues because that's what's going to make our district excel. It's going to take all of you staying this passionate and this involved even after tonight is over. So that's my challenge to you. With that, my concern is our academics. Our first goal needs to be what's best for our student achievement and what's best for our students. Yes, we are in charge of the budget, but in looking at the two options, now that I've had the two-school model presented and looked at the dollars, looked at the amounts, that $100,000 difference to me is not worth the transition that it's going to take. We move all the kids to one school, there's a huge transition, and I really feel, knowing my own students, just moving from one house to the next, their foundation is rumbled, and so it creates a downfall. That concerns me. I'm afraid that we would take next year as a transition, and I'm not willing to take that chance with our students, because then we just have to transition them back to another school. That is a huge concern for me, and I don't think that it would be good for our academics, just knowing when we moved from one house to the next how it affected our family. It's not worth that $100,000, because I think we could find that $100,000 with restructuring the MOL, doing some teacher shuffling, what we need to do, but I think we would eat up that $100,000 in the cost of transferring all of our life skills classes and everything, and our transportation, I think would eat that savings up. So that's not a reason to go with one or the other. My reason for the two-school is basically we need to do what's best for our students' academics, and I think we're on a good path. I think the staff is on task. Our scores have not come out, so we don't know what our scores are. I do think they will be better than a D. D is disappointing. But I think with two small schools, our school and our students could achieve better, because our students and our teachers can stay a little more focused. So, that is when I first had Dr. Chestnut's presentation presented, there wasn't the option of the two schools. Seeing the two schools and seeing that the dollar figure is pretty close, to me that's worth the chance.
So where do you think our administrators got it wrong?
I don't think they've got it wrong. Dr. Chestnut still supports the two-school models.
Dr. Chestnut's recommendation clearly is to close Maricopa Wells Middle School.
He also said, Dr. Chestnut, if you'll clarify for us, that the two-school model will also work. It's not his first choice, but it would work.
That's well put.
Don't disagree with that. But his recommendation is to close Maricopa Wells Middle School, correct?
Yes, Dr. Chestnut was going to say something. Go ahead.
Yes, that's correct. I would recommend closing Maricopa Wells Middle School, and mainly for the purpose of improving student academic achievement. I think we have our greatest possibility of moving the largest number of kids forward if we have all 7th and 8th graders under one roof. However, and I would give that proposal an A, a grade of an A, because that's my favorite one. I also have to acknowledge, though, that a two-school model is viable and it can work. We have two middle schools now. We are making improvements in both of them, and we can continue to do that with two middle schools. I think that it will be more difficult with fewer staff. The reason I give the plan a B also is because it impacts other levels. It doesn't allow us to have as many administrative savings, for example. We can't move one of the middle school principals to our vacancy at Santa Cruz. We may have to reduce additional teachers, which would probably end up being at the high school level, because there's cuts built into the two middle school model. We already have large class sizes at the elementary. If we have to cut additional teaching positions, it could mean 2 or 3 cuts at the high school. So that's the impact on K-12 that I don't prefer, and why I would give that plan a B. But I would give the two-school model a B.
Okay. So it will work.
It can work.
We can make that two-school model work, yes.
Okay, that's what I need to hear. Okay. It is a tough decision, but I'm looking at that transition of that year, our 6th and 7th graders now, which will be 7th and 8th graders next year. Then they'll go into high school, and I think that their foundation will not be as strong as if they stay in their home schools. And I think it will affect our high school achievement after that.
And I think everybody has very valid points. And there's no question in my mind that our leadership staff and administrators that vetted this process thought of every single one of those. And they also thought of all the downside of doing, keeping both schools open. And in their expert opinion, our best result to increase student achievement was to close Maricopa Middle School.
You know, Mr. Bartles, I agree with what you're saying, and I have complete faith in our leadership in the MUSD 20. But personally, me, I sat here and I listened to the best experts out there. I've listened to parents, I've listened to teachers, I've listened to the people, I've listened to the community, I've listened to city leaders, I've listened to a lot of people, and I give them a lot of credit too. And that's been a huge part of the decision making on my end. These people, the people have spoken. They don't want the school closed. And they've got there's reasons, of course, and they're all valid reasons. And all of us, we all agree that, I completely trust our leadership. And Dr. Chestnut, thank you. You were doing the best job you could. Your leadership did. But I'm listening to a community of thousands of people, parents. There are emails. We've gotten emails. We've got people coming to us that are relaying messages from several different parents for here and there. It's not just in the school district and the leadership. It's the community. That's where I'm getting my direction.
And I have talked to several city leaders, and it would be not in the best interest of our city. I think it would hurt our community to have to close that school and then reopen it up again. I think it would just be put a bad mark on the district. And I think it's worth bringing the D with a small school. I know our students and our teachers, and actually I know our parents will make sure their students study for those tests to show that they can bring the D up to a C. That's what needs to happen.
It does need to happen, but I just don't understand how we can logically conclude that if we get rid of an administrator, we get rid of 3 teachers, we get rid of 2 classified staff, that is going to improve grades and test scores.
But you could argue that bringing 2 schools of students into one school environment, that would increase the student achievement, either because Mrs. Anderson was right when she said, you're disrupting a lot of these kids have moved from school to school to school because, we've built them, we've opened them, we've had to, redistrict our boundaries, and so they've been moved, and now they're in schools, and we've got our schools. We're not planning on building anything else right now. They've been stable for a couple of years now, for the most part, and we need just to keep investing into that, because we will have that another dip of transition year, and that's not going to bring our scores up either. If we have, I believe that the staff is willing to make the commitment to work as hard as they need to bring up our student achievement, and I think if we keep an environment that the kids feel comfortable in, they feel safe in, that they will learn. Their achievement will increase. If we put them in an environment where they don't feel comfortable, we'll take a hit for a while. And we can't afford another 2 to 3 year dip.
I agree that there is risk associated with this. What I still can't wrap my head around is all the things that you just said. Haven't we been talking about and implementing those things for the last several years? I mean, we were in danger of, we're in corrective action with the state and so on and so forth, and teachers are going to work hard, parents are going to work hard, we're going to put them in a safe environment. What I still don't have a good feel for is what happens next year that was different than last year, that is going to mean our grades are going to go from a B, C to a D, to a D, to a C, a B, and an A.
Well, we won't have 6th graders there anymore. That's one. It's still going to be a smaller school.
I think what will set us apart, I'm also talk to other school districts, having 2 small junior highs is the opportunity to create 2 small magnet schools. And these kids can focus, and the administrators and the teachers. And I think that opportunity, I think that is a draw for those kids and those parents to stay here. So for kids, they learn better in a smaller environment. So I've got to go with a smaller campus. We've got 7th and 8th grade just on one campus, which I think is a great opportunity to finally focus on that grade level and invest our time in that grade level. And we could still do it at 2 small campuses. There'll still be some of the buildings, how many buildings at Wells will still be open because we'll only be using half the campus, right?
Right, we'll have some open space, yep.
So as those Maricopa Wells, because those buildings are separate, I know we asked last time, there's no restrictions from the state that if we have kept school on there, we can still rent some of those buildings out?
That's correct.
Okay, so we've still got the potential if the opportunity comes up. That's not the deciding factor, but still the opportunity's there. Any other discussion?
Not for me.
Okay, well, I would like to call for a vote. Is there a motion?
Do we have to vote?
Well, because it's stated on the agenda.
But it's stated if we wanted to close.
So we need to take a vote on whether or not we want to close Maricopa Wells.
Or ask for a motion.
So there needs to be a motion.
A motion to close Maricopa Wells Middle School beginning with 2013-14 school year.
I'll second that motion.
She already motioned it.
So there's a motion and a second. As far as closing Maricopa Wells was your motion?
That's correct.
And Mr. Bartle seconded. Any last minute discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay. Mrs. Hahn, do you need a roll call? Do you need a vote count? Did you get it, what the vote was? Okay, all right, so we need to clarify it? Okay. So Maricopa Wells will stay open. It will stay as is, as 2 small middle schools. Thank you, Dr. Chestnut and staff, for your research. Thank you, parents. Seven C is not necessary because it's going to stay in 1 school boundary. So
2 school boundaries.
Item 7, yeah, I'm sorry, it's going to stay in a 2 school boundary, so the boundaries stay the same. So we can skip over 7C and go to 7D. Discussion and possible approval of first reading of updated policy I-7350, graduation requirements. Dr. Chestnut?
And maybe just to cover all the policies at once here. All the policies tonight are just routine updates recommended by Arizona School Board Association. The only exception to that is item G, which is policy JJJ, the extracurricular activity eligibility policy. That is specific really to Maricopa High School. And Mr. Nienaber, our athletic director, did most of the work on that policy and is here to answer any questions you might have on that one. So I don't know what order you want to take those in, but that kind of covers the whole list.
Okay, so let's go ahead and go in order, and then, because we'll get down to item G pretty quickly, Corey, if you'll bear with us. So 7D, discussion and possible approval of the first reading of the graduation requirement. Is there a motion?
I'll motion to approve the first reading of updated policy I-7350 IKF, graduation requirements.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Discussion and possible approval of first reading of updated policy J0950, admission of transfer students. Motion?
Move to approve.
Move to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 7F, discussion and possible approval of first reading of updated policy J4350, interscholastic sports.
Move to approve.
Second. Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Discussion.
Oh, discussion?
Yes.
Yes.
Coach, question for you. On this item, we
Interscholastic sports.
bear with me. I take that back. I'm looking at G, so.
That's okay. Stay there, because
Yeah.
G's coming
No
right
discussion.
up. Okay, no discussion. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Now we're up to 7G. Discussion and possible approval of first reading of updated policy J4550, extracurricular activity eligibility.
This one makes me happy.
Discussion?
Yes, me too. I'm excited.
Discussion or motions?
I have a question. First of all, thank you for raising the bar. What's the thought process of not including requiring a passing grade in addition to the 2.0 GPA?
To be honest, the thought process behind it, I would say that of our ineligible athletes, we are the vast majority, especially of freshman athletes who are ineligible, have A's in every class and have one class, maybe they're choosing to take honors for the first time, maybe they're choosing to try an AP class, and we are punishing them in a way for trying that. And it's the workload, things like that. We have based this off a 2.0 because that's what the NCAA wants. That's more of a focus on grade point average rather than one class, or the majority of our athletes who are passing with straight D's would be ineligible.
All of them?
All of them would be ineligible, okay, with straight D's. Even if they're a DC combo, would be ineligible. They'd have to have all C's. The majority of our kids who have multiple F's are going to be ineligible with this. If they have more than one F, they're going to be ineligible. What I have seen, especially from our lower level kids, our freshman kids, who we end up punishing their first quarter in high school, is they don't know how to study yet. They're not prepared for high school, for the demands of a high school student, and we end up taking away something from them in the fall especially, something from them that a lot of them will keep them in class and keep them active and ends up fixing their grade. We end up punishing them for sometimes a whole quarter, for 9 weeks or longer. So, and I see it a lot as the football coach, because our freshman football players, I will tell you that at our first grade check, which was 4.5 weeks into the season, we had 14 freshman football players ineligible, and 11 of them were failing one class. And it was all one class, the same class. And it was not so much their fault as it was, and I had no leeway to help them whatsoever because of our policy.
You need to coach them on the concept of drop an ad.
Yeah, well, in high school, you know, those freshman kids, they don't get that yet. So, you know, that's the thought process behind it. And I'll tell you, in my time here, the majority of the athletes, if they are failing, if it's one class that's keeping them ineligible, it is typically because they're in an AP Euro class, which they signed up for because they thought that's what they were supposed to do, that's the track, and it ends up being really hard. So this allows them to continue to work to improve. I put a lot of responsibility on coaches. As the athletic director, this allows me to put a lot of responsibility on coaches who really have more pull than I do as just the athletic director. Because as a coach, I see them every day. We call them road scholars in football. They learn through the soles of their feet because they run so much. Stuff like that. So it gives me a little bit more control over my athletes as a coach, and allows the kid also to, okay, you messed up, we've got to fix this. But I mean, to get a 2.0, you can't have C's and all 1A, you know, a couple of D's and F, we're in trouble.
Thank you for the clarification.
I know that we tried to do this a year and a half ago, but one of the reasons that we kind of held back on not enforcing and changing this was because we didn't necessarily have the tools and the supports in place to help those students that were struggling. How is that? Do we have that in place now? I know that, you know, there was some suggestions. I believe it was Mr. Irving had suggested that, you know, some high schools, their last hour is kind of like almost like a study hall, so that if they have to leave to go to a sporting event, that they're not really missing a core class. But then it was there to help those kids that were struggling. So, what tools have we put in place now that we can be able to fully support this policy, which I absolutely love?
One thing we've done for upperclassmen is we have a class called Advanced PE that we encourage our students to take when they have an open class. Because of the additional requirements to graduate, it's become tougher to add those kind of things. We have a class for advanced PE, especially for sports that start early, 4 o'clock game times. We encourage baseball players, softball players, basketball players to enter that class. It's impossible for freshmen to. They don't have room in their schedule. It's really impossible for sophomores because of the requirements, the added requirements recently in math and science. So, but it allows our upper level athletes, our junior and senior athletes, to take this class. So they are missing PE instead of missing English or math. So we've done some of those things. It is strongly encouraged from the athletic office for study halls, especially for our freshman athletes and freshman teams. That's something that I've talked to coaches about. We're in the process of making more, I guess, more of a demand. But study halls are only as effective as the person running it.
Right.
So, you know, at the end of the day, coaches want their kids to be eligible. We want all kids to participate. And so this allows the coaches to be, we're not testing or checking a kid at 2 weeks and saying, sorry, you're ineligible for a couple weeks, and then that kid disappears. Now, the onus is on the coach. You need to check your kids, and now you have the ability to allow them to still play, and you dangle that carrot, but at the same time, progress them forward. So I think we have added some things, I mean, with the advanced PE and the study halls. But again, it's, you know, at the end of the day, the students have to do the work. And with the NCAA upping their requirement for Division I, starting with the class of 2016, NCAA has gone, you have to have a minimum of a 2.3. This at least gives us a step. Scottsdale Unified District's gone to 2.0. I know it's the wave of the future. We're just kind of at the head of the curve. So.
Good. I like it.
Okay.
Thank you for putting time into rearranging that.
No problem. My pleasure.
Okay, was there a motion on the floor for policy 4550, extracurricular activity eligibility?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Coach. Discussion and possible approval of first reading of policy J 5300, acquired immune deficiency syndrome and human immune deficiency virus infections. Questions, discussion, or motion?
Move to approve item H.
I'll second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay. 7, I, J, K, and L. Is there a motion to convene into executive session? The governing board may vote to convene an executive session pursuant of ARS 15843.
I'll motion to move into executive session.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Go into executive session. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you.